so difficult to get a certain reputable response or some respectability around creative arts. This Walasi issue was years ago, right? When 22. If I'm not wrong, this thing was like what, 16 or 17?
Yeah,
It was so long ago because
Like,
it was 16
like
or
you said, if it was an oil issue or so, if
would be-
Walasi had done something,
Yeah.
assuming Walasi was the one who erred, do you think the state or the political party or the corporate body or whoever would have...
When Black Rasta said, defamatory statements against members of parliament, he was drawn to parliament.
And he was picked up swift.
And dealt with and made to apologize publicly to the members of state. So in this, are we going to see if the president or the presidency, I beg your pardon, has erred? Are we going to see a public apology to Hayat?
It would be a game
It
changer.
should be.
And I think for a posture like that, if he has erred, if this legally he has erred, a posture like that would be very,
inspiring.
inspiring.
To say a lot about the respect that is needed for the creative industry.
And also change the face of how people look at this thing. Because I think it doesn't even start from when we are successful. It starts from even uni, right? We see how people, quote unquote, look down on people who do fine arts, and then they've nicknamed it dondology. But these people are the people who are doing music, dance, and theater.
They make it look like
you failed already.
Let's go back. Listen, I like this fight because I'm a visual artist. I'm a visual art student. Okay, I like this fight. Right from JHS, the kind of ideology that we carry around visual art students going into. So I choose visual arts. I think I did 12 subjects or 12 subjects. I had 10 ones and 2 in 2 subjects.
Ooh.
Yeah, I tried. Me idea
Good
power.
job.
Me idea power. I mean, maybe idea power. When I was writing my BEC, you understand?
Oh, we get it.
I shouldn't go there.
Focus.
Okay, so I deliberately selected visual arts because I loved painting. I mean, I paint. I play the flute. Oh yeah, I play the flute. Should I go into that one too?
No.
We beg you.
Okay, so
Jay's on LinkedIn.
Yes, I did. I loved it. But in going to school, there was a certain perception right from
Jay, let me break your heart.
that time that visual art students, you will scrap the annex.
Yes.
You will do this.
Yes.
Yeah, you are not people. You are not serious. Your course is cheap.
Yeah.
I mean,
Exactly.
this is a
Exactly. So like
I
I was
remember a
saying,
PTA.
like I was saying.
I remember a PTA somewhere in JSS 2 or JSS 3, and we know him, right? And I mean, I won't mention his name on air.
Hey.
I'll tell you off air. We know him.
Hey, sir.
And his parents, I think it was his dad, came in the class and he had excelled.
Was it Ricky Tennyson? Mr. Ricky Tennyson?
No, it's not Mr. Ricky
Mr.
Tennyson.
Ezekiel.
It's not our producer, Ricky Tennyson. It's not our head technician,
Evans.
Mr. Ezekiel. It's none of them.
None of them.
It's somebody else we know. And it's something that stuck with me because I was just 2 tables behind him, right, in class. His dad was so disappointed that he wasn't doing well in math and totally failed to acknowledge the things he was doing well in because those were arts. And what stuck with me till now is the look on the teacher's face, because the teacher that was interacting with the parent was our vocational teacher. You understand? So it's like it starts, like you said, from society. It's not just even at the university. There is literally little respect.
Yeah, but I was making reference to uni because that's where we've nicknamed a course, a whole course, a 4-year degree that is fine arts as dondology. And that really gets to me because these people are very creative people. Without these people, you're not even...
from way back.
Exactly, you're not enjoying the dance, you're not enjoying music, you're not enjoying art. And art on its own, the totality of art is a major part of life. So for these group of people to be looked down upon and for it to blow up as much as not being able to give credit to them, I mean, I think that for every strata of society, we come at fault when it comes to these things, because you probably cut a piece of a movie and post it on your page, liking it, just purporting that, oh, I've watched this movie, I like it, without even having to, go back and credit the director, the producer, the actors, the actresses. You do that for music. You do that for even art pieces.
Then he's
right?
on fire.
You don't.
She's on fire. So we just like we promised, our legal team is ready. We're going to go into the conversation with them real quickly now. Let me just introduce them as well. So we have Foza Oyikansola. I hope I had the name right. She's the president of Digital Music Commerce and Exchange Limited. We also have Kwabena Frimpong Mensah. He's an associate of Robert Smith Law Group, an entertainment lawyer. Thank you very much. And Bobby Banson. He's a private legal practitioner. All joining us via phone and Zoom for our conversation. If you can hear me, good morning to everyone. To my team of lawyers. Can they hear me? Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Okay, I assume that it's Foza. I assume that'll be Foza.
Yes, good morning.
Yes, Foza, how are you? We are thankful for you joining us here this morning. But can I hear from Kwabena Frimpong and Bobby Banson as well? Are they on the line? Okay, so we will try and establish connection with them. But let me just start off with Foza once she's here with us. And team, we're ready. Also welcome with your questions to her. So let's first even understand. I don't know if it will be a right space for me to ask you this, but let's understand what copyright infringement in itself is. If you can just give us an understanding to this.
All right, good morning, everybody. So essentially, copyright or intellectual property refers to any property that is created from the creative mind. So intellectual property law protects intellectual property. So anything that comes out of the expression of the human mind, whether it's a tech innovation or visual art or music or film, is what we classify as intellectual property. And it's intangible, meaning that you can't necessarily, it's not like a building, it's not like a car that you own as property. So under the intellectual property law, we have different types. We have copyright, we have trademark, we have patents, we have traditional knowledge, we have software, geographical location, and a whole lot of them. But specifically for the entertainment industry, the two prominent intellectual property laws that we use is copyright. Copyright is the backbone of the entertainment industry, and we have trademarks. So what does copyright do? Copyright protects the expression of an idea. Now, it's important to note that copyright doesn't protect an idea, it protects an expression of an idea. What's an expression of an idea? Anything that has moved from your head into a recorded or a tangible form. So if you say hello, 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 and you just keep saying hello, 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 that's an idea. However, if you say hello, 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 and you record it into your iPhone, or you record it into, the mic that records it into an MP3 or WAV file, that becomes a work. Now, for music, we have two types. The copyright breakdown is you have a sound recording, which what we refer to as masters, which protects the MP3s and the waves, and we have the musical works, which protects the lyrics and the instrumental. So in a nutshell, that's what copyright is and how it applies to the music industry.
Okay, so let's look at, before I come back to Kwabena. Kwabena, if you can hear me, I want you to just say hello so I can confirm I can hear you as well. Do I have... Okay, so... The connection to Kwabena is terrible, but let me still focus on Foza. So, Foza, we've had... Kwabena, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, okay. All right, great. So let's touch on... let me just quickly bring it to the incident at hand. With regards to the use of creators' content in the video that was shared by the presidency. Let's have an understanding of this. Has the presidency erred?
Okay.
Okay, so I think Kwabena's connection is
that as
So let me come back to you on that question then. We'll try and establish connection back to Kwabena. Can you hear me, Foza? Well, we are having a challenge with
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, awesome. So I don't know if you are privy to the incident that happened the past 24 hours with regards to, our president in Ghana sharing a video reel on his Twitter page that included a certain part of a video by a Ghanaian musician who says that they didn't reach out for permission before they used the footage. Can we understand the legalities around this? And I was asking if the presidency has erred or they have the right to use it for a real video as it were used.
So, for every property, whether it's tangible or intangible, I can't come to your house without your permission. If I want to stay in your house, whether it's for free or whether you are going to pay me, even if it's an Airbnb that you want to give me, I have to go through the normal channel of, oh, I'm coming to your house. My brother, can I stay in your house? There always has to be permission. And that's the standard rule of property. So even if you were using it for non-commercial purpose or commercial purpose as it is, the owner of such property, according to the Copyright Act, has the right to give you permission. Is the only person that has the right to give you permission, whether exclusively or non-exclusively, whether orally or written, to say, hello, you can use my property for this certain purpose. So if no permission was established or obtained, I think you have your answer from that. So it's really so the right that for you to include an IP into another IP, because just because it's a new work doesn't mean that you didn't use an old work. That's why where you see an artist, for example, where we had Burna Boy that sampled Tony Braxton, there was a permission process and everybody's being paid. So if you're using a video clip in another video clip, it's imperative and non-negotiable that permission should be sought, whether it's for commercial purpose or non-commercial purpose. And there's some, in the internet age that we have, that's why when you are on Instagram and for you to use a piece of music in your Instagram video, right, you see that there's some songs you can't use in some territories. There's some songs that you can use in some territories, and that's because they are licensed. So if a major label says, all right, Ed Sheeran's music can be used in Ghana, but it can't be used in Nigeria, that's the right of the property owner to say that, okay, you can use it, in certain parts of Africa, you can't use it in certain parts of Africa. And, Instagram will get that blanket license so that you as the end user can use that piece of music. And that means for every time a piece of music is used or a piece of intellectual property is used somewhere, someone somewhere has to be paying for it. So that's the logic behind that.
Okay. Foza, I wanted to know with what you've said, right? You know that Jay was asking earlier in the show that if you stand at a place, let's say a resort, right, and take a picture from there and you post it, can the resort also repost it without tagging you? And then also, can you also post it without tagging the photographer because it was taken on your phone?
So there are different dynamics and different case by case studies, right? And we have different case laws all globally that have reflected different things. So that's why it's important to understand the difference between a commercial use and a non-commercial use. Okay. So, like we've established, whoever takes the picture owns the picture, right? However, if you put it on a public platform and, and tag certain things that makes it more public than it's supposed to be on, like it's not on my private page, it's not a locked page and someone came and lifted the picture and used on a public page, there's an argument for that. So it's not a straight or narrow answer. It's on a case by case basis that it's determined whether it was used for commercial use without permission or non-commercial use without permission.
Okay.
I also wanted to find out, there's a very high rate at which people disregard seeking permission. And is it because it's a difficult and tedious process, or it's complex, or is it that, in your opinion, of course, is it that you think people just don't think it's worth engaging and paying for, Or is it that there's some bureaucracy around it that people don't want to get into having to ask for the permission and get their splits and all those things in order before? Or is there a timeline issue to it? Do people want it so fast that they just grab and go? What do you think is the main reason why people refrain from doing the right thing? Because the law seems to be very clear.
So the question I'll ask is whether I have a timeline or will I just come into your house, except I want to come and steal. It's very, I don't care the timeline that you're on. If you enter my house without my permission, you are a trespasser. It's simple. And the only reason you come without my permission is because you want to steal. So if there's no excuse for you not confirming, who the rights owners are or is, and for you to take permission. We've had an age-long African problem of where we see we're entitled to art. So when you go to the local bars, you go to... when streaming was coming into Africa, a lot of us were like, oh, I'm already using my data, so why am I going to pay for subscription? Because I'm even helping you with my data. No, you're not. The land that your house is being built on, you already pay land use charge. Does that mean that the person paying rent doesn't still pay rent? And I keep going back to using physical property because Africans, when you want to measure an African man, they say, well, how many houses do you have? But when you want to measure a creative in the global world is how many pieces of works do you have? How many paintings do you have? How many pieces of music do you have? That's what is used to value their work. So for us in Africa, we have a certain problem as regards IP valuation. It's changing. I mean, now you see, artists going all over the world, commanding, people that don't even speak our language and bringing so much glory to the continent. Now, I mean, the older people who are the people that rule us are in government, they see it, they're like, okay, this is cool, but they still don't understand it. And that's why for them, it's just like, it's not that video you saw on YouTube, just put it and match it up. I can promise you that whatever happened was because of purely based on ignorance, right? And it's our job as stakeholders, as the IP lawyers, the IP stakeholders, the creatives. And I tell creatives this, that you have more access than the people that work in the back end, right? I'm a lawyer. Nobody knows me. I'm not a celebrity. I'm not the popular person. But you sang, the biggest song in the world and everybody's singing with you. You can literally walk up to the president and say, yo, this is not proper. You need to respect artists. You need to respect this. Start using your voice to do the campaign for the respect for IP. So it's not about timeline. It's just basically a lot of ignorance, And in Nigeria, for example, we've been able to deal with that to a certain extent due to constant re-education and education of the public. And one of the peculiar things, last I think 3 months ago, 4 months ago, I was in Kenya and we're discussing about the African trade agreement and the IP clauses that were there. And it was interesting to note that, someone pointed it out and we were like, oh, we had so many people from different African countries, but everybody came to discuss how those laws would affect their country. And Ghana was significantly missing. And I had to raise my hand. I was like, yo, after Nigeria in the real sense of West Africa, Ghana is next. And why is nobody here having a conversation? And we made a case, we entered this long heated argument. And I think right now, and this is also for calls to lawyers in Ghana to be like, there's currently, I think between September 29th and October 1st, there's the African Trade Agreement conversation, and it has to specifically do with IP clauses, and it's going to be held in Ghana. So it's imperative that, we have representatives there speaking. I mean, there are going to be lawyers from different countries in Africa attending to have conversation of how these IP clauses, affect Africa as a whole and, your country in specificity. So it's important that we get into all these conversations and also education. So platforms like this to educate people, because a lot of, the people that govern us or the legislators that, put the rules in place, watch, this kind of platforms, and we all have the responsibility to educate the public. So.
Well, okay, thank you, Fozo. Let me quickly switch over to Kwabena to see if he's also on the line. Kwabena, are you there? Can you hear us, Kwabena? Okay, so today's I think the rains in Accra here is giving us terrible connection with our lines, but we'll resolve that with our technical team. But so for still staying on you, Cyril had asked the question about is the process difficult or easy? Is it the reason why people shun away from making sure they do due diligence? But can you just give us a fair idea of what exactly is this process that a person can go through, to secure rights to use somebody else's IP?
It's quite easy, to be honest, because if the whatever agency that was contracted, and I'm pretty sure, because the way government wouldn't specifically do things on their own. It's young people like us that were contracted to make those videos.
I think that was Kwabena trying to chip in there. We have to. There's copyright infringement, right? He's coming into our home without knocking. Okay, Kwabena. So thank you. But Fosa was on the line.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
The studio can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear now. So Fosa, you were saying?
Oh, great. I'm sorry about that earlier on.
No, it's fine. We'll be suing you for coming into our home without knocking. What? That's for later. Anyways, just kidding. But Fosa, let's get on with you. You were saying.
Yeah. So what I was trying to explain was that most organizations that use intellectual property have agencies that they've contracted. So even the government have agencies that they've contracted that have young people on the team. And those young people are very familiar on how to use basic things like, go to YouTube and check for the source or check for the credit, because now our metadata system, refers to information on who owns a particular piece of work. It's clearly stated there, and contact information is clearly stated there. And 90% of the time, if you reach out to those contacts, I'm pretty sure you will find someone that will respond to you and put you to the process. And if you can't do that, you employ lawyers. There are lawyers that are specifically, like for myself, I do African clearance, music clearance, even for both locally and internationally, both for government and private agencies. And we find owners of music up until 1960s, up until the 1914 or 15. We trace the ownership and we go and ask. And these things take a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, depending on how it is, right? So it's either you do the work yourself or you employ experts, music clearance lawyers or music supervisors or music agents that know how to find the right process. There are people that do it. It's the laziness and the ingenious. Like you're just trying to be lazy and just faffing around and not just, once again, ignoring and not respecting the rule of IP. So if you really go on Spotify, Boomplay, YouTube and whatever, you see the owner of the music and you see their contact information and you will reach out to them and they will direct you. So it's not hard. It's not rocket science. It's not an invention. It's pretty simple.
I think we're just being ignorant about it, if you ask me. Kwabena, let me just jump to you now. So in Kwabena, can you hear me? Let me confirm first. Well, I think Kwabena is off the line now. Bobby, are you there as well? Bobby, good morning.
Yes, I can hear you.
Awesome. All right, Bobby, welcome. Well, still struggling here with the connection with Bobby, but wow, I think today is just one of those days that we ourselves are having these. Okay, so Bobby, if you can hear me, let me just throw this question at you. So now in Ghana, I mean, we hear songs being played on radio, in public places, at events. People are using creators' content. I mean, recently at the event that was held at the Independence Square, the Global Citizen Festival, the DJs were there prior to the performances. The DJs played music. These are content from our people's IPs that was being used. Without, I don't know whether there were any permissions granted of any sort. I'm asking you generally in Ghana, because you are here with us, are we losing the war or the fight on protecting people's property and intellectual property?
Good morning. I hope you can hear me
loud and clear.
Is that Cyril I see there? I've not seen him in
Does
a
he
while.
does he owe you?
My business partner.
If he owes you his life at
No,
Abelete.
I think I owe him. I think I owe him some work. I'll
I'm
get it
waiting on
over
you.
to him. Okay. And to your viewers and listeners, it's an interesting conversation. If we say we want to talk about that, it could take us centuries to finish. But I'll try and be brief. I don't think we are losing the war. The fact that we are speaking about it, for me, is a good thing, that we are conscious of the hurdles that we have that we must overcome. I think that, one, it's an issue of the collecting societies. And that is something that, as a country, the state as an institution, I've always held the position, has failed the creative arts as at today, because it's the laws as we have has been interpreted and applied to suggest that every creative art must belong to only one collecting society. And as of now, it's only about Ghana that you have that. So that if Cyril, whether he likes it or not, per the interpretation and application of the law as we have, Cyril is deemed to be part of only one collective society, which for me, it's wrong. It's discriminatory. It's against the provisions of the 1992 Constitution that gives everybody the right to belong to any association of his choice. And so, for instance, with the event that was held at the Independence Square, we are supposed to have those who had their acts, their works played or published or performed, as it were. If the artists did not give their direct consent, they were not there to participate, the collecting societies that these artists belong are the ones that should be on the organizers to say, okay, you played this song X amount of minutes, X amount of time, so you are entitled to pay us X amount of money to give to our artists. Do we have those collecting societies playing that role? Everybody will say GAMRO, but it's not everybody who is a member of GAMRO. And so, for example, I know for a fact that the 2 male Ghanaian artists that performed are not members of GAMRO. And so can GAMRO go there and go and say that they are collecting the funds? Shatawale has said he is not a member of GAMRO, but his songs were played. Can GAMRO go there to say that they are collecting the royalty? Those are questions that our state institutions in charge of copyright laws must sit up and start answering.
Bobby, hold on one second. You've raised a very important point. I just want to find out on the Nigerian side if that happens real quickly before you continue. Fosa, does it happen in Nigeria as well with regards to when the concerts and events, the collecting bodies are mandated, step in to try and salvage this issue on behalf of the creators?
Our administration works is that our collectings, for every event that happens, the venues pay license fee, right? They pay the blanket license fee. The organizers pay blanket license fee. So even if, the Nigerian artists that their songs are being played are not part of the local CMOs, the local CMOs collect. In Nigeria, only our local CMO can collect, and they remit to other CMOs. So if they collect, for example, 100 million naira in a year, and so as the events are happening, they send in what we call Q sheets to see the number of songs that are being played. And, from those songs, our local CMO would share out money to every other collecting society that they have a reciprocal agreement with to say, okay, we played X amount of they played X amount of songs for all the artists under your repertoire. This is your money. So locally, our CMOs are authorized to collect, whether you are part of it or not. They collect for everybody here, and they remit to whatever society that you belong to, which is kind of like the standard practice globally. But is there an inefficiency going on? Yes, there's an efficiency going on. In Africa in general with our collecting society, but that's kind of like how the administration is supposed to work.
So now, Bobby, then on the back of that question I'm asking about, are we winning this war, comes to play again?
Yes, I will not. Well, I'm not, as a lawyer who has had the privilege of advising a lot of creatives and even suing some persons for breach of the intellectual property rights of creatives. I would say that different artists would answer this question differently, and it's an issue of the level of education and exposure of these artists. I know Cyril and I'm not saying this because he's there, but I have for the past 4 or so years, I have observed or watched the kind of public education they are giving to artists in this field, and big ups to him and his team. You'd have some who are very, very, very up to speed with what their rights are. And so with the slightest breach, they will take it on. They don't say, give it to God. We are dealing with a situation where an artist has had a song used by a company, and the CMO has gone to take the royalties. The artist has written to the company to say, where is my payment for you using my song? The company says, I paid to Gamro. The artist says, I don't know Gamro. I've never received a dime from Gamro. So where is my money? So you see that there's this disconnect. And so if you have an artist who is up to speed with what his rights are, that artist will never be cheated. We've had Ghanaian artists who have made money from international agencies using their songs for adverts for movies. There are some too that when their songs are used, they say, oh, it's rather making me popular, so why do I go after the money? So it's all about the level of exposure of that artist. So to some artists, they are losing the war because they don't have the right advice. They don't know how to go about their rights. But to some artists, they are winning it because they understand what it involves. They understand how to get their rights materialized or what's the word, valued, and then they'll be able to ask for it. Monetized. I have always suggested that it's about time that the creative arts, they form something like a union, because sometimes the problem is they are not united. And so you would have different persons having different concepts about how to monetize their arts. And other industry players or the stakeholders will take advantage of it and then make sure at the end of the day, everybody loses, only they win. But if they have a union, they speak with one voice, then it makes it very, very easy to have these things done. So that is what I have to say in response to you.
Right, Bobby. I'll catch you later on the other stuff. But into the conversation, they say if you know better, do better. Now, the artists are not business people. They are not legal minds. Most of them don't even have legal teams for their brands. I mean, apart from the top 3, 4, 5 Ghanaian acts, I don't think many of them actually have retained legal teams to address any of their issues. That's why we keep hearing all these messes around. But the corporate bodies who use these content for their campaigns, for their ads, for their events, they have legal bodies and legal firms and in-house legal teams that are on the clock 24/7 looking for the best interest for these firms and institutions. We have TikTok as an example, where one big Ghanaian brand, one of Ghana's biggest brands, right, was at the point of error for using his song for a major national campaign without seeking his consent. Now, I know this brand very well, and I know this brand has a legal team that addresses other issues that they are scared of facing in the court. So they have a legal team that this is important, that is important. But that legal team did not think contacting TikTok to get a release on his music was important enough to be done. And that is what I want to throw back to you, that as much as we are expecting the creatives to big up themselves and be enlightened, and Ghana Music Alliance, so much we can do. What about the legal teams that know all this? What about people like you? What about
this is a shared ignorance or deliberate, on their parts?
I don't think the corporate bodies, the banks, the insurance companies, the telcos, their legal teams are not aware of this. They are. So it comes across as a complete disregard for this. What do you think about that? How do we get corporate legal Ghana, let me use that phrase, to actually take creatives as seriously as they take other things?
Well, because you mentioned us, what are we doing? I'll speak to myself. I'll speak to.
Okay, so I think we're just trying to establish a connection again, but that was a very important point that you've raised. Do I have Kwabena on the line? Kwabena, can you hear me? Okay, so Kwabena is also off. Let me come to Foza. Foza, you are. Oh, so we've lost all three participants, but we'll just try and get them back on the line. But it's a very important point that you've raised, that regardless the sheer ignorance, yes,
negligence.
If I leave my front door open, right, and I have a fence, I have a gated, even if I don't have a gated thing, and you know that's a private property, and my door is open, my window is open, you still don't barge in and take my stuff.
It doesn't give you the right.
Exactly. So if these legal teams exist, and all these banks, insurance companies, blah blah blah, they have all these huge legal teams down retain are looking for their best interest. Why do the legal teams not take a focus on the creative input that their brands use?
Because there's
a giant marketing team on all these corporate bodies. You know there's 20 people sitting in marketing, and you know marketing guys go for content. They shoot video, sound, photo. That's what marketing does. So why is the disconnect between marketing and...
Let's get Bobby back on the answer to your question. Bobby, can you continue, please?
Okay. Yes. So I was saying that I would answer Cyril's question in three folds. First, I would because he threw the challenge to me. What are we doing as lawyers? I would speak for myself, and I can also speak to Senior Cynthia Kwaku, African One Media. She's a lawyer, very established lawyer. So last year, what we did was to hold a symposium for free at Movenpick for all the creative arts at our cost, for free. We got Gamro, we got Cyril's team, we got the Attorney General present, we got the Minister in charge of creative arts present to discuss these things. There were a lot of resolutions that were passed, and we are still working towards it. So yes, we see the gap, but what we can do our best is to let the people know that you have these rights. So it was the first, but there are plans to hold series of them, and so we did it for free. Cynthia and myself, we came together and we did it for free. That is one. But I want to start from the top. The first is the institution that is responsible for regulating this is the Attorney General's Department under the Copyright Law. The Attorney General's Department has the sole responsibility to issue licenses for CMOs. They must set up the licensing regime, who qualifies and under what circumstances. I have always argued that Gamro, under the law, cannot be the only CMO. If, for whatever reason, the Attorney General wants to have only one CMO, then there should be strict monitoring of the activities and the finances of this CMO to ensure that every single creative artist benefits from the activities. So far, for the last 10 or so years, it's been bedridden with fundamental corporate governance issues that up to date, they are not being resolved. But that is another discussion. So I've mentioned one, what the lawyers are doing. Some lawyers are doing. 2, the Attorney General. 3, the artists. If you have a creative arts, Jay, can you hear me?
Loud and clear. And I'm coming with my questions as well.
Okay. If you have a gift or a talent, you should see it as your means of earning a living. Mm-hmm. Like every other job anybody else does. You must not only be interested in you going to the studio to sing or write music or play the instrument. You must be interested in how you would monetize this beyond the time where you are active. It's only in Ghana that an A-list artist must every year release songs after songs to be able to survive. In well-regulated economies, all you need is one hit song. Jay, when was the last time you heard a hit song from Seal? From Celine Dion?
From Celine Dion.
Seal.
Well, it's been ages, right?
Kiss from the Rose is still playing on Atlantis.
She's still earning
When was
from
the last
that.
time you heard a hit song from them? Yes. Or even Ja Rule. Let's come to our hip hop, or Ja Rule, or even Dr. Dre. Let me put it that way. But they are surviving on the arts or the works they have done 10, 15, 20 years ago because their industry is regulated. How was it regulated? When they started, they decided to put together a team, even though it comes at a cost to them, that will ensure that their works are protected forever. And so, Cyril, most of your colleagues, well, you say now you're a farmer, but most of your colleagues in the space, and this is from personal experience. They get a contract. Somebody comes to them to say that I want to be your manager, and the person sends them a contract, and they send it to you to look at, and you look at it and you say, okay, the person is only ready to give you, let's say 5,000 cedis upfront. But what happens to the exploitation of your work beyond that? They're like, oh, lawyer, if he goes, this 5,000, he can buy me a charger. That car that they like is a charger, right? He can buy me a charger, or he can buy me a Mercedes. And so tomorrow I'll release another hit song. I can get somebody. So let me take this one and forget about the rest. And no matter how much you advise the person, the pressure on them to take the 5,000 CDs today to meet the need today will let them forget everything you tell them. And so you have a situation where they sign all their rights away. Tomorrow they hear that their song is the soundtrack for a movie that is being premiered in Hollywood. And they come to say, hey, what happened? I signed 5, you go and pick the contract, and they literally signed their rights away. Completely. Very few of them take legal advice because they manage to think of tomorrow and not today.
Bobby, so
so the artists themselves, right from the moment they start, must be able to understand that you need a correct management team around you. And
Bobby,
I would suggest to every artist.
Hello, Bobby, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
You said something.
Yes.
I want to stand on the defense for the artists. But before I throw that question to you, let me take it to Foza in Nigeria first, and I come to Ghana. So, Foza, can you hear me as well? Okay, so her line has gone blank. But okay, yeah, great. So, if you listen to what Bobby was describing earlier on, this raises another concern about the availability of entertainment lawyers. Let me find out from you in Nigeria, do we have lots of entertainment lawyers available?
Yeah, and that's because some of us did the work 8 years ago. When I started out, we're probably like 2. But before I came in, we had just one popular entertainment lawyer, but it wasn't filmed. And we had a couple of IP lawyers. So IP lawyers are very different from entertainment lawyers. I mean, IP is what governs us, but entertainment is a subset of IP. And so when we started out, we're just about 3 that were very specific about entertainment law. And in the last 8 years, I think in Nigeria, we have done a very good job in bringing younger ones. Now you have like a number of entertainment lawyers. And that was because we were very deliberate about educating and ensuring that lawyers understood. Because also we lawyers, we have a problem. We have a problem of we feel like we know everything. Just because we do land law, you think that you can do entertainment. And sometimes even these artists have given a lawyer, their contracts to read. And instead of the lawyer saying, oh, this is not my area of expertise, let me give someone else to read, the pride and the ego will make them still review that contract that they are reviewing like oil and gas and put you in trouble. So For us, it was a very deliberate and conscious effort, and I was part of that effort in terms of raising, a multitude of entertainment lawyers. So we are not scarce at all for entertainment lawyers in Nigeria.
Well, praise be to God for that deliberate effort. I want to bring that before Lenny comes. I want to bring that question back home. To find out. Do we have Bobby or Kwabi on the line as well? Okay, Bobby is on. Bobby, I'm throwing you to Lenny, but
I'm here.
What is the situation in Ghana? Do we have a lot of entertainment lawyers as well? Okay, I think Kwabena is on the line. I wish I could let Kwabena take that question for me.
Hello.
Yeah, Kwabena, are you there? Yes, we can hear you now.
Great. I have to apologize for the poor network I've had today. I'd like to apologize for to your viewers also for the delay. Now, in answering that question, in Ghana, we have not been as deliberate. It's still a burgeoning frontier in our legal space. It is now that a lot of people are taking IP and IP-related laws seriously. And so that's now that interest.
I think Kwabena's network today isn't. Let me throw you to
for people to be media. For now, I think.
Kwabena, we're having a struggle with.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we are really having a struggle with the connection this morning. Can you hear us?
I do not know what is happening. Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Okay, all right. So yes, please go ahead.
I can hear you clearly. Great. So what I was saying was, we have not been as intentional as the Nigerian market has been. IP and IP-related laws is still a fledgling frontier over here. People are now seeing the importance of it and the need to protect their rights and to totally appreciate the rights that come with their creative work. So it's still a new frontier for us. We have people who are now taking the lead in that space and being more concerned. We have people like Bobby on the line who is actively in that space most of the time. And then there are people like us who are learning from him. So it's like Oyinka said, she started the work 8 years ago. We are now at that beginning stage. We are now building ourselves. But it's the developments are clear to see. Now that discourse on what a person's rights are is being heard and is being heard everywhere. Now people are more alive to their rights as performers, as artists, as writers, as painters, sculptors. So gradually we shall get to that space where we have a fully fledged media and entertainment law and people will take on the reins as they have in Nigeria and other countries.
Okay. So I'll put this question to Kwabena, right? Considering the situation at hand with Kirani Ayat, what would be the ideal situation? I mean, first, when he saw that, okay, my intellectual property has been used, what would be the right process? Should he have spoken to a lawyer first before jumping on social? And even after jumping on social, how does the law now come in place to, properly address the situation to make sure that whatever earnings, if there are, that he's supposed to earn or gain from this use of his property is duly given to him?
So I hope the studio can hear me. I'm very sorry, but I have to keep on asking to make sure I'm not lost you.
We can hear you. You're live.
Okay. So now the first thing he should have done was, yes, to rightly speak to a lawyer concerning the use of his intellectual property without his consent. Earlier on, Oyinka spoke about having to clear everything before being used. She gave the Tony Braxton and Burna Boy example, and that is the proper procedure to follow in all instances. However, and I will chip this in cautiously, intellectual property rights belong to the creator. However, there are some instances where a person can be permitted to use it without seeking the consent of the intellectual property owner. But these are very fine cases. And so it depends on how you want to look at it and how you want to argue it out. One of the accepted uses for intellectual property rights without seeking consent is if it's for personal use, like a private user streaming music on his phone. He doesn't need the consent, or even translating it, doesn't need the consent of the intellectual property holder to do that if it's for his personal use. The next is if the intellectual property is being used for teaching or educational purposes to the public, then the necessity for seeing the intellectual property holder is waived. Another is where audiovisual work, like his video in the current circumstance, is being used in a broadcast new information or an event of public interest or public interest information. Now, is it that the Visit Ghana campaign by the presidency or the Ministry of Tourism is of such public interest that it falls under this sphere so as to waive the requirement of seeing the intellectual property owner? That is something you would also have to look at, because the Copyright Act, which governs the intellectual property rights of most artistic persons in the country, I think Oyinkansola, has already entered on the importance of copyright to media entertainment law, states specifically these exceptions or the permitted use of copyrighted materials even without seeking the consent of the owner. This is found in sections 19 and 21 of the Act. And so it's not as black and white as it seems. These are little gray areas that both lawyers of both teams, that is Ayat's team and then the requisite ministry, will have to look at in deciding how to proceed with this delicate matter. Because like we said, our entertainment frontier is quite novel. So these are new things that are coming up. Either to this, nobody would have thought of it, but it is clearly stated in our laws that there are permitted uses where you do not have to see the content rights owner. So is this one of them? That's the first question.
I think.
Yeah. Sorry, are you done? Sorry,
no, I wanted to. I was going to follow. And now the next thing is, if there is an infringement, what happens, or what are his rights, what are you entitled to? The first thing is damages for the use of his property without his consent. The next would be an injunctive relief, where the injunctive relief would be to prevent whichever institution it is from further publishing or further use of the video without his consent, without having all of this. So this is the ambit of the law as we find it presently.
Okay. I think Fosa was going to come in real quickly. Or Lenny, do you have a question?
Yes.
Okay. Fosa, let's hear from you. I think there's a reaction coming from you. Yes.
Yeah, just quickly to buttress what Kwabena said. So, the exception, our laws are quite similar in terms of Nigeria and Ghana. So the age-long question is between, we have a fair, in our Copyright Act, it's called fair use. I think in America it's fair dealing. So there's a constant battle between fair use and fair dealing. So there's a question of, so that kind of content, was it for educational purpose? Was it for X purpose? Was it for whatever purpose that was defined in the Act? And what it qualifies as fair use? Is it 10 seconds? Is it 20 seconds before it moves into, let's start having a commercial conversation? But whatever it is in this new age, because we also, I heard Bobby saying that the laws were 1992, ours was 1970 something. We are in a new age of where the law is 2005. Ours is still way back. So it's like our laws are not moving at the pace of what technology is providing what the modern age is providing. And what our laws are supposed to do is to move with the times to make, our jurisprudence in Nigeria is law is a social engineer. So the courts will decide. What we've had in the past is that the courts are deciding and defining what fair use is and what not. Now, to answer a serious question on, who asked the question of, was it right for Ayat to go on socials or whatever? You can't tell me how to react to when you steal my property or when you do something that offends me. Like I said, the example I use is whether it's for educational purpose or whether it's for whatever purpose, you can't just barge into my property. You ask for my permission. And if you're going to barge into my property, like the way you have, national museums and whatnot, you can stand at the gate and look inside. That's the extent of what education is going to allow you to say, oh, look at that billionaire's house. Oh, I see the structure from outside. But you're not going to enter into the main building and say, oh, just because of education, come in and come and look at everything without proper permission. Even when you go to museums that are properly set up, you pay a certain token to enter, or the gateman will open it for you to enter, whether it's for education or whatnot. So my philosophy is, it's my property. If I'm mandated by law, which we have different exceptions where the law will say, okay, even at some point you have to disclose certain information for public interest and whatnot, there's a certain, level of rights and respect that you need to have. And that's what, for me, my campaign is always about. Like, it's my property. Even if there's some exceptions, you have to have sense in executing that exception. You can't just be arbitral about it. So you can't. So when I react, you can't tell me. It's just like you slap me and you expect me to wait and go and tell my child and say, oh, this person slapped me. Should I slap him back? I will react. You can't judge me for however I react. So if I decide to go on socials and call you out, fine. If I decide to go to my lawyer and say, let's analyze this case, fine. So that should never be the focal point, of saying, oh, that for me in particular, will it solve the problem? We don't know. But should you determine how someone should react? I don't think it's fair.
There is a question. Let me throw this to the two of you. Is there a possibility that an office such as the presidency can, without the fair use of power, but clearly on legal grounds, be able to, for want of a better expression, to win a case like this against IAT? This goes to both of you, actually.
So I don't think it's necessarily about winning a case. It's in this end, it's more of, is that a valid defense to what you have done? Because the question is, and as Oyinkansola was saying, what is the definition of fair use and how are we going to interpret fair use? That is up to the court at this point in time, because whether we like it or not, the exceptions exist. Now, how are you exercising or using this exception? She made the mention of the fact that you should use sense in using these exceptions. And so it's now up to the court to determine if it's the 10-second appearance in a video fair use, or is it arbitral? And if it is, now the next question is, how are you remedying the breach? So I don't think it will just turn on whether or not the office which committed the offense is immaterial at this point in time. The most fundamental thing is looking at the artist's rights and whether or not there's been a breach, and the interpretation of fair dealing. As she rightly said before me, our law should mirror the times that we are in. I think at some points we've moved from having music carried around on MP3 discs to having it in the clouds and people streaming it from wherever they are in the world. Our law should be able to reflect these changes as it is, and we should be amended accordingly. So it then goes back to the first point she made before I came on, that the people who make these rules, these regulations, do not understand them properly and do not know the effect. And it's high time that as artists, as lawyers, as artist managers, people in that space come together and try and drive this change. At some point in time, industry people like you, like Cyril, everybody in that studio should be able to come together with one voice and say, you know what, the shape of music or how music was done 10, 15 years ago has changed. This is what is happening now. This is what we need now. We need greater protection as artists, because now people are understanding the value and the worth of our work. And so we must make sure that when I am done performing at top level or in active service, my work can still look after me. My work can still pay me.
Okay.
My work will be
Sorry, I have to make this quick and snappy. Now, before I let you both off, because we have just 2 minutes left, let me just quickly switch to the conversation of photos. and its use and its rights, something that we had been debating in the studio with regards to photography. And I mean, this is in a day and age where social media platforms have given the rights to the use of video content and pictures and reposting people's pictures, and and all that, even to the extent of wishing people happy birthdays and all. With the use of images, let's understand the owner of a picture who takes a person who takes a picture of another person, who is the owner of the photo, and are we infringing on people's rights with the use of pictures? And I'm saying that because Ariana Grande had an issue recently, some time back, with regards to using a photo of her that was taken for, I think, an album cover or a magazine cover or something, and she was sued for it. So let's quickly, in just 1 minute, from both of you, understand the use of photos and, and if we are constantly infringing on people's rights with social media, especially. Foza, if you can start with you first, just a minute before I run off to Kwabena as well.
So like I said, times are moving, technology is moving, and most times when we sign up to the social media, the terms and conditions are pretty clear, and a lot of them also play within the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, and there's strict conversations between fair use and fair dealing, commercialization and non-commercialization. So in any which case, I think there was a case years ago where a paparazzi took a picture of Rihanna and put it on Instagram and sold it. And when the court ruled, it showed that he owned the pictures and he could sell it. However, she came back and sued in terms of image rights. In Nigeria, we don't have necessarily what is called image rights. You can sue under the constitution, but you might not go as far. So the law is constantly working and evolving, and everybody's adjusting as new things keep coming up. Now we're entering the Web3 world, so it's also very different, and the law will just keep adjusting. So it's not left for people like us, to keep interpreting and adjusting to the situations that we have as we grow as a digital community.
Thank you, Kwabena. Let's hear from you.
So,
just about 45 seconds,
laws
please.
Mirror that of Nigeria. Okay, Ghana's laws mirrors those of Nigeria. Here, whoever takes the photo is the owner of the copyright in that photo. So to use the photo, you would need his consent. We have not developed, like you said, the concept of image rights and using of image rights, which is a big thing in other frontiers. So those are the things that would need to change. But as it stands now, he who takes the photo owns the copyright in it, even if it's your image. Once it's the expression of his idea on his medium, because that is the basis of copyright, an expression of an idea on a discernible medium. He owns the copyright in that photo. And so, like she said, most of these are apps. Once you upload your photo, you give up the rights to it. It's in the fine print, but who has the time to read all of it? And that's why we are where we are.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very, very much. Really appreciative of your time with us this morning on Join Us right here on Culture Daily. We've been speaking to Foza Oyinkansola. Please pardon me if I had the name pronunciation of a challenge there, but she's president of Digital Music Commerce and Exchange Limited, and Kwabena Frimpong-Mensah, he's associate of Robert Smith Law Group and also an entertainment lawyer, and Bobby Banson, he's a private legal practitioner. Thank you very much for joining us on the show. But guys, in house in the studio, if we can wrap up. So I mean, now I think, I'm just going to be taking I know, all the words I've taken of you are mine, right?
Okay.
Don't worry, like they said, we can still sue.
Okay. Do you know the number of photos that belong to me then from the two of you?
From where?
From the two of you.
No, listen, with
But
yours. With yours, we asked you and you gave it to us. You even turned on your airdrop and you gave it. We did, and
But
we accept.
guys,
the phone said accept.
Okay.
You are both using
Okay.
the images as free use for now. But the moment one of you commercializes it as a model in the image, I can come at you as image for image rights. That's what Lily said.
I know what to do moving forward. I know what to do. Don't worry.
But I mean, my last words would be to create a platform where the legal side of corporate and all that also come together and get the updated information and education that they need. Like she said, maybe they feel they know it all, but entertainment law and creative law or whatever is also something that they need to catch up.
And I think you've also raised a very valid point with regards to artists now making understanding their team, legal, and all the
Business,
NRS and
yeah.
all those people have to play. Legal is very important. Very, very important.
Critical.
All right, on the back of that, we are done on this day, on this morning's Culture Daily. Had a great conversation talking about copyright infringement, and hope you've had a good one as well. Sorry we couldn't read all your messages coming through. Apologies on that, quite a number of them. But we've had great insights into this from our legal experts, giving us insights into this topic. So we are back at the same time tomorrow. My name is Jay Foley. I'm here with
See, Braille.
And Lenny Lamote.
and we out.